Policing is about enforcing authority regulated by policies set forth that are particular to a region in which people dwell. This is the reason we have police districts, all the same jurisdiction under law, but police districts patrol a specific area within a city. All the citizens of that city have to abide by the same laws, but each district operates differently because each district has a different objective and focus. This is the reason for the stats. To dig a little deeper, let's go back in history and see how the North versus South operated as their societies thrived and shit. The North, who had indentured servants, had watchmen, sometimes volunteer policemen, and constables, British officials, who just supervised the watchmen, the volunteers. And down south, they had slave catchers as their police. Now, granted, some of these slave catchers were volunteers, but who were these slave catchers catching? Slaves. Now, indentured servants, there were plenty of different demographics that could have got in trouble for a crime. Just showing you the difference in how they operated. Our local and state law enforcement is empowered by the state. Therefore, their use of force gets legitimized by the state. It's supported by a concept called the monopoly of violence. The federal government has limited power towards state policing. So when state police kill citizens from the state, if it gets to the Supreme Court, it's not much stipulations that the federal government can enforce on state policing procedures. That's how the police get off on these killings and shit, because the state has to enforce these prosecutions. Once that shit gets to the federal government, ain't too much they can do with it. So 9 times out of 10, they're going to get off. Folks are so focused on the federal government and don't understand how the system works. So like once the state doesn't provide the proper prosecution, folks are like, yeah, so what? The federal government is going to pick it up and then they're really going to get sentenced. But it's like the police can beat the federal case way easier than they can beat the state case.
There is room for private contractors working a mess hall, providing basic supplies and doing some logistical work that might have been done in-house in the past. I am troubled by the use of private contractors when it comes to potential armed engagement. I think it puts our troops at harm's way. I think it creates some difficult morale issues when you've got private contractors who are getting paid 10 times what an Army private's getting paid for work that is as risk or carries similar risk. When it comes to our special forces, what we've seen is a potential drain of some of our best trained special forces, and you can't blame them if they can make so much more working for Blackwater than they can working as a master sergeant. So that I think is a problem. I am not arguing that there are never going to be uses for private contractors in some circumstances. What I am saying is if you start building a military premised on the use of private contractors, and you start making decisions about armed engagement based on the availability of private contractors to fill holes and gaps, that over time you are, I believe, eroding the core of our military's relationship to the nation and how accountability is structured. I think you are privatizing something that is what essentially sets a nation state apart, which is the monopoly on violence. And to set those kinds of precedents, I think, will lead us over the long term into some troubled water.